Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Abundant Wednesday. I'm Shelley Hagan, and this is my business partner, Nina McNamara. And today we have our guest with us today, Barry McGuire, who is a real estate investor attorney from Edmonton, Alberta. And Barry and I had met many years ago over through the RAIN organization. And he has worked with a lot of my mentor clients and I've, had some interaction back and forth with Barry a number of times. And he also does some education on real estate investing as well. So we thought we'd have Barry here and talk a little bit about what has changed with COVID and how the attorneys are dealing with some of the regulations and things that have changed. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nina.
Shelley. Barry, it is such a pleasure to meet you here on Zoom, and I've read your books, I've read about you. I'm very excited to actually be kind of meeting you in person, the new Zoom person. As we were mentioning before, it's harder now to get together in person, and probably if it wasn't for this darn pesky COVID, we probably wouldn't have met this way. So as we've all had to pivot during COVID times, would you be able to care to explain how you, as a real estate lawyer, have had to pivot your business?
Well, thank you, Shelley and Nina. Nice to meet you virtually, and I guess that's what we're talking about is how things have changed in COVID and how we've had to pivot. And so, COVID seems to change the way we do things every day, and the last couple of years have been changes this way and that way, and you're forwards and backwards and upside down. But I guess one of the things that we've had to deal with is the biggest thing is normally when any of our clients are going to sign any of their paperwork for any of their legal deals, they have to meet up typically with their lawyer. They come into my office, the lawyer's office, sit down with the lawyer, review all the documents, and then we sign them and witness them and complete the documents. But with COVID, for a long time, there were no rules about getting together. There's confusion about getting together. People don't want to get together. Folks are nervous, rightly so. You just don't know what the deal is. And so the provincial government, the department that regulates the Land Titles Office and real estate transactions, got together with our governing body, the Law Society of Alberta. That's who calls the tune for lawyers. And they had a big discussion about it, and they decided that we could meet with people virtually to sign documents. So instead of having to meet them in person, we were allowed to meet virtually. And you can use any virtual platform, but I typically use Zoom because it seems to be well known and everyone uses Zoom. So we're allowed to set up a Zoom meeting, and what we do is we send all of the documents, we scan all the documents to our client and say, okay, we're gonna have this Zoom meeting tomorrow. Here's all the documentation. You have to print it. And you might have to, just clearing out something on my screen here. There we go. We tell them how many copies to print. We have to confirm single-sided because folks printed double-sided to save paper, which messes everything up. And then on the day, we dial it up and they show me their certification, and I look at it and I take screenshots of it. And then this is the one that's sort of funny. I mean, they have to pan their camera around the room to make sure that there's nobody in the room influencing them to sign against their will.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting.
And so the place where it comes up, I think, is when one person is on the title. If a husband and wife live in a property, but only the husband is on the title, then there's some concern that if the husband is selling the property, that maybe he's doing it without his wife's knowledge. And so that's why we have to get this thing called the dower release or dower consent signed. So that's how you have to start a meeting. Get ID, go around the room to see whether somebody's there or not, and then we can get on. We explain the documents, and we're ready to sign. We have to move the camera or the screen down so that I can see the document on the desk, and I have to see their hand signing the paper.
Wow.
So this works pretty well for sales where there's not too much documents, but it doesn't work nearly as well if it's a purchase with the new mortgage, because I'm sure you two have bought numerous properties and there's a stack of paperwork.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I've done a few Zoom meetings when there's a purchase with a mortgage, and boy, it's hard when there's a big stack. Nevertheless, that's what we're allowed to do, and that was a big relief for lots of people because they weren't really comfortable coming into an office. You know, we're wearing masks and we're sanitizing, the office, the pens, the floors, everything. So lots of people just didn't want to come in. It's also been good for people who live a long way. I mean, it's fun. In Edmonton, typically they could get into my office, but as soon as they're not in it or in another province, or even worse for them, in another country, then the Zoom meetings are hugely beneficial. Because if, Shelley, if you're in Mexico on holiday and it's time for you to sign your documents, I mean, if you can't do a Zoom meeting with me, then you have to go and find an English-speaking attorney down in Mexico or English-speaking notary, and I have to get you have to print them. Your Mexican lawyer or notary is all upset because they may not be able to read the documents, or they may not understand them, or they may not be familiar with them, and they're edgy about putting their stamp on it, saying, yeah, I met with Shelley, explained everything. So one of the big advantages has come in other countries. It's really worthwhile having the Zoom capability there. So that's kind of the way that that's the biggest change that COVID has brought for us, is the having to deal with the concern that people have on meeting personally, the inability that people have to meet personally, and then having the Zoom meeting to solve that. So that's been our biggie, and it's worked quite well. I'm really crossing my fingers. That is, crossing my fingers, not giving you crossing my fingers that when COVID is over, and I guess that's another question, will it ever be over?
Right.
I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, that we will continue to be allowed to do Zoom, because it's not just signing paperwork. It's often convenient to have a Zoom meeting or a Zoom webinar, or Shelley, we were talking about doing events, and we've been you haven't been able to do live events. And I haven't been able to do them. And I used to do between 2 and 3 a year, sometimes all day events.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
We've done some virtual meetings. I don't think they're quite as good as live, but it's better than being able to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
The webinar side of it and the meeting side of it, as opposed to just finding legal documents, has really been pushed forward by COVID. I mean, I think we had that technology before, but there was not near as much of the virtual meeting, even though we could, until COVID kind of forced us, and we went, that's not so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Places where it's shown up for me in my law practice.
I think in some ways, sorry, Shelley, I think in some ways it's almost a benefit, because you can streamline your business, and you can also probably have more different clients all over the country and countries. So it's actually been a bit of a benefit. So I think this is probably a definite way to keep going, because we can all probably get more people in. I know when I used to visit with my real estate lawyer, he'd book us at the end on a Friday, because we'd be there for an hour and a half visiting and chatting, stuff like that. So this way you get in and get her done.
Exactly. You don't have to save, it saves you time if it's kind of ugly weather in the wintertime, driving on the other side of town. I have some international clients, Barry, as well, that do things that are not related to real estate transactions. And we've actually had some multinational transactions with Zoom where people were notarizing documents. through virtually with an attorney in like Spain or someplace too. So it really has changed the whole global way we look at business, just because of COVID, what's been going on. So
one of those, as we always talk about it, what's it going to be like after COVID? How have things changed permanently? And I mean, I think we're going to do lots more virtual things. That's going to be a permanent change. We might, go more live things, but it's going to be lots of virtual stuff post COVID.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I personally am looking forward to getting back to doing live events and, networking and meeting people, because I just, I'm an extroverted person. I like to get out and actually, meet people in person. So it'll be good to do that. But I think you're right. Zoom is here to stay, or something similar to this for sure.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for your time, Barry. We really appreciate you taking a few moments after your busy schedule today. If our listeners would like to reach out and get a hold of you, how would be the best way for them to do that?
Email is the best, Nina, and my email address is bmcguire, so that's bmcguire at fieldlaw, one word, fieldlaw.com. So that's bmcguire at fieldlaw.com.
Excellent. Great. Thank you so very much.
Yes, I appreciate your time, and we'll definitely have you back again. Because there's always topics that come up with our clients. So it was really good. Thank you very much for your time, and wish everybody an abundant rest of your week. And we'll see you again.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.